6:30. So I would like to start the, excuse me, the regular meeting of the Ponca Lake Forest Lake Watershed District. I am the new president for this year, and sitting next to me is the former president, so I've got lots of help right here. So let's start out with the roll call, please.
All right, Manager Lowe,
Here.
Manager Schmaltz,
Here.
Manager Baki,
Here.
Manager Taves,
Here.
President Anderson.
Here. All right, first on the agenda, it looks really overwhelming, but I think we've got it kind of corralled here for a bit. And it'll allow some feedback from the board and then, and we can move on, I think, quickly. The first item is the setting of the meeting agenda. Are there any changes?
No.
Okay, no changes from the administrator. Anyone else? No, okay, a motion to approve the agenda is in order.
I move to approve the agenda.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Manager Lowe,
Aye.
Manager Schmaltz,
Aye.
Manager Baki,
Aye.
Manager Taves,
Aye.
President Anderson.
Aye. Next item is the consent agenda. We have 4 minutes going back to November 21st through December 19th. Are there any comments on any of those?
Madam President, November 21st meeting minutes are to be further reviewed, I believe.
Okay,
I have notes from that you and Chuck Holtman were going to review them further. There was some language in there.
Okay, I know what you're talking about. I'll make sure that's done for the next meeting.
okay. So,
So I move to amend the motion to include December 10th, 17th, and the 19th, and review the 21st at the next meeting.
thank you, Manager Schmaltz. Is there a second? I'll second the motion. I'll, roll call, please.
Manager Lowe,
Aye.
Manager Schmaltz,
Aye.
Manager Baki,
Aye.
Manager Taves,
Aye.
President Anderson.
Aye. All right, next item is public hearing on the iron enhanced sand filter project.
Madam President, managers, so for the public hearing, we have several EOR staff here. Dr. Wilson presently in the office along with some of the others. So are you going to be okay? All right.
May I ask a question first? Are there any members of the, is there an audience for this, citizens present?
No,
Okay, anything online that you can tell?
no, not that I.
Okay, I just want to make sure so that we allow time for them to answer. So proceed.
Good evening, Madam President, managers. We're here to present the feasibility study for the Heath Avenue Iron Enhanced Sand Filter Project. This is an introduction to some of the key staff members as part of the project, but these that will work on both the feasibility and will be part of the final implementation of the project. But this team is much larger than the people highlighted on the screen, and will include some pump and electrical design professionals as well. I'd like to orient you to the site. The parcel is indicated in red here. It's 0.25 miles southwest of Little Comfort Lake, just south of Highway 8. It's included in one private parcel, which the district staff is working on a purchase agreement that we'll hear about later in the meeting. And then the drainage area is shaded and outlined in yellow, and it is just under 1,000 acres. And then this feasibility study was supported by monitoring data from 2018 and 2019. And this site will also be again revisited for monitoring in 2025. This project is funded in part by the fiscal year 2025 Clean Water Fund grant that grant award was a little under $1.5 million with a required 10% match and will expire at the end of 2027. And then the expected phosphorus removal is 75 pounds per year or 22% of the remaining 336 pounds per year load to reach the Little Comfort Lake treatment goal. Talk a little bit more about the site itself. You can orient yourself here. Heath Avenue, which is kind of the namesake of this iron enhanced sand filter, is running approximately north and south along the screen, along the west edge of the site. And then you can see Highway 8 running southeast and southwest to northeast across the top of the screen. That orange line is Highway 8 there. And then we can see Little Comfort. And then the location was optimized to be near the storm pipe that discharges into Little Comfort that had been previously identified as having elevated phosphorus levels coming through. Like I said before, it's a one parcel, private parcel that's indicated in red. And the site conditions are that it also includes a wetland and a low quality prairie on the site with many invasive volunteer plants that are located there. The watershed itself, sorry. The watershed itself is a mixture of wetlands, rural development, and is historically agricultural. The pump will pull water from an underground storm pipe that you can see of the approximate location on this top photo, kind of near that mode edge in the photo is where that location of that pipe is. And then we could talk a little bit about the feasibility of the design itself. So just to orient you on this slide, the top of the screen is north and Heath Avenue is that gray line that's making up that kind of the diagonal of that left edge of the screen. And then you can see the double dashed line is along Heath Avenue is that existing storm pipe that we kind of already talked about. The proposed design includes a vault structure that's connecting to that existing pipe on the southwest corner of the dashed perimeter, and it will divert water from that line to a pump station and then alternatively pump water into the two basins. Underneath the basins are under drains, which would collect that treated storm water and return it to the storm pipe, which is on the top left there, that reconnection and that bold line at the top. And eventually that treated water will go and continue in that existing pipe to Little Comfort Lake, which is off the top of the screen. The on-site wetland, which is around ½ an acre, will be protected and a native buffer will be established. And then the entire site outside of the iron enhanced sand filter will be reestablished as a native prairie. So that would be a restoration of about 1.5 acres of prairie on the site as well. The approximate conservative estimate for the cost, the total cost of the project is around a little under 1.5 million, with reflecting escalating costs and lead times with including a 20% contingency, and that cost range is typical for the standards of a feasibility study. And we're anticipating a little bit under $1,000 per pound of phosphorus removed. Just another reminder, as we kind of continue to look at these projects, they're going to be a little bit more expensive for the pounds per phosphorus, but this one is still under $1,000 per pound. And then here's a breakdown of the phosphorus reductions and total suspended solid reductions. We're estimating about 75 pounds per year at the feasibility level, and we will continue to refine the design to maximize that treatment. We've included ranges here for the phosphorus removal, and that's just a combination of feasibility level design and then seasonal variability in the runoff and the flow from the monitoring data.
That's a lot of sediment removal.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
In addition to phosphorus and sediment, iron enhanced sand filters can also have additional benefits with removal of nitrogen, heavy metals, bacteria, and hydrocarbons. So that's an additional benefit of having this type of design in this location. We have some project partners. The city of Wyoming signed an MOA for connections to the existing stormwater sewer and site access for construction, operation, and maintenance. And then Connexus Energy will provide the electrical connection for pump controls. And that's all, pending final design and implementation. The next is the schedule. So the anticipated construction will be in fall and summer of 2026. Stormwater infrastructure, earthwork will go in the summer, and then the pump and electrical systems will come in fall. This is because those pump and controls have a really long lead time of about 6 to 8 months. So we are targeting a winter bidding period to maximize bidders and pricing for the upcoming summer construction season. And that's all I have for my presentation.
Can you bring up the map, those 2 maps that you showed at the beginning?
Sure.
I just have a question.
Oh, sorry.
Oops,
That one, this one or the other one?
the other one. Yeah, this one. I just have a question about water that might be coming in from the southeast basically, or west, excuse me. Is there anything that adds to that from that drainage perspective, or is this all coming off of things closer to the site? Or is it really connecting underneath Heath Avenue to all of the stormwater that's coming off of Liberty Ponds, the development?
I can
I'm just
maybe
curious.
help with that,
Yeah.
Greg
Okay.
here. So you're talking about the stuff that's north of Highway 8, that drainage area, Manager Anderson? Is that correct?
No, I'm talking about that southwestern portion where you see, there's only one street there, so I'm assuming those lines are drainage lines of some kind. And so is it coming from that area as well as what we know off of Liberty Ponds?
So everything that's in that highlighted yellow boundary is flowing
Mhm.
to that pipe that gets to Heath
Okay.
Avenue. So it's
Okay.
making its way through ditches that all converge at Heath Avenue.
Mhm.
There's an inlet structure there, and then that follows Heath Avenue down to Little Comfort Lake. So everything in that yellow drainage area is routed to that pipe, which will pick up as much as that water as we can with the pump system.
Yeah, I just want to make that clear so that, our friends from Washington County understand how far down that drainage area really is. Because you can see where Forest Lake is down in the left bottom. And that's the lake road that goes around the lake. So anyway, that where that meets is really, I think, something that we always have to keep in mind. That the drainage is coming from different ways, not just around the Heath Avenue area. All right,
Yep.
thank you. That clarifies. Any other questions from the board?
Yeah. Yes, President Anderson.
Yes, please. Manager Taves.
On the page that says water quality benefits, additional returns for Minnesota Stormwater Manual. Let's talk about the nitrogen, the heavy metals, bacteria. My question is, what constitutes the hydrocarbons? And the second question, is there any residual capture of chloride from this water?
Manager Taves, the hydrocarbons are coming from petroleum products and other urbanized contaminants that are typical in stormwater. Likely more urban stormwater where we have more interaction with cars and other kind of man-made materials. Yeah, roofs, pavement overlays, things like that, petroleum-based products.
Okay.
Unfortunately, filtration does not work on chloride removal, because it's dissolved in the water itself. These other materials are actually more from a mechanical removal of the sand itself. And then the phosphorus, especially the orthophosphorus, are captured from the iron enhancement.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right. Thank you for that. And there's no audience present to ask to contribute.
Let me double check.
Okay,
Nope, that's everyone.
okay, then the public hearing is closed. And we can move on then to number 5, public open forum. We know that there's no one online. We know there's no one in person from the public. So I will close that one and move on to number 6, Citizen Advisory Committee update.
Madam President, managers, if Mr. Reed here online for the summary of this.
Okay, Mr. Reed, it's all yours.
Well, thank you, Madam President, managers. In the packet this week, we have the notes of the CAC meeting from Tuesday, January 14th. A couple notable moments I want to point out. We had 2 new attendees this week. Gary Kramlich, who's a Forest Lake resident, and Keith Coonley, also a Forest Lake resident. We do have an application for Mr. Coonley to join the CAC. Unfortunately, Mr. Kramlich is a temporary resident. He's planning on moving out of the district shortly. But both have been a great addition to the CAC in their 1 meetings. We spent the time reviewing the AIS reports and looking at the cost share policy again. And then we had a short discussion reviewing the 2020, well, I guess actually the 2024 priorities we set at the beginning of the year in preparation for discussing more about what the CAC would like to prioritize this year. And I also want to note that I did hear from Manager Schmaltz that he will be attending 2 meetings of the CAC, and I'll send out a request to managers to attend the other CAC meetings here tomorrow. I'll be sending that email.
Okay, the only thing I wanted to call out is the information that Mr. Kramlich brought forward. And he asked to have the numbers that we produce from those reports to be put into a historic context. And I know that's come up from the board before, if we could have some type of a historical marker to those reports so that we can see if things are improving or getting worse on some of those things. I know climate has a lot to do with it, precipitation and all of that, but if you could do that, I think it would be helpful for the public especially, but the board also. So I thought that was a really good suggestion. So if you could pass that on to him, that would be great.
Will do. Thank you.
Mhm. Okay. Next on the agenda is new business. 7A is fiscal year 25 Clean Water Fund grant agreement.
Madam President, managers, so as condition of these Clean Water Fund grant funds, the district has to approve these agreements. District staff will then proceed with some other work plan development, and then ultimately Bowser will execute the grants and return to us, making the funds generally available sometime in March, typical. So there'll be 3 items, 3 motions rather, and then the 1 resolution, which is for number 3. I do want to make a note that in the memo, we'll make an update to it, but it refers to account 5-225A, Little Comfort, Heath Avenue, Iron Mason Filter, and it should be 5-225C as in Charlie, in terms of what's actually the budget line item, so that can be made within that motion. That would be appreciated, so that we're making the transfer into the proper amount. So really what we're doing, we're trying to get that that line item within the budget to that dollar amount. Cause right now, it's, so there is that line item in the budget and it has 10,000, but we wanna transfer this additional amount. It's identified in the motion.
Okay, and that's motion number one, correct?
Correct.
All right. Okay, motions are on the floor. We need one for each one. I'll make the first one. I move to amend the 2025 budget for the account number 5-225C for Little Comfort Heath Avenue IESF to 52,000 and to transfer 52,000 from account 000-3300 grants receivable to account number 5-225C.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Manager Schmalz.
Manager Lowe. Oh, I'm sorry, are we doing a roll call or do you want to do a discussion?
Well, discussion, if there's any questions. I don't know if there are any, so let's move on to roll call.
All right, Manager Lowe,
Aye.
Manager Small,
Aye.
Manager Baki,
Aye.
Manager Taves,
Aye.
President Anderson.
Aye. Motion number two is now on the floor.
I'll move to amend the 2025 budget for account 5-229-A for comfort diagnostic study update to $59,000 and to transfer $59,000 from account 000-3300 grants receivable to account 5-229-A.
And I'll second that.
Seconded by Manager Taves. Any questions? Okay, roll call, please.
Manager Lowe,
Aye.
Manager Anderson, I'm sorry, Manager Schmaltz,
Aye.
Manager Baki,
Aye.
Manager Taves,
Aye.
President Anderson.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, motion number three. I will make
Aye.
that motion to adopt, oh, I'm sorry, who spoke up?
Go ahead.
Okay. Moves to adopt a resolution 25-01-01, seconded by,
I'll second that.
thank you, Manager Taves. Roll call, please.
All right, Manager Lowe. Manager Lowe. Manager Schmaltz,
Aye.
Manager Baki,
Aye.
Manager Taves,
Aye.
President Anderson.
Aye. Resolution 25-01-01. Do we have to do a separate motion for that, Chuck? Or we just did, correct?
Okay.
You just did, though. Manager Loth has returned if
Okay,
would like his vote.
all right. Go ahead.
Manager Lowe,
Aye.
Right, resolution 25, get to it. 25-01-01 has been accepted. Okay, next is the Blue Water Science. Is that right?
No, the acquisition.
The, 7B is Iron Hand Sand Filter Project Order.
7B, I'm sorry, okay. Health Iron Enhanced Sand Filter Project Ordering and Engineering.
Madam President, managers, this item has, two different motions. There'll be, the project ordering itself, which is the resolution in the lower part of this, attachment to the memo 25-01-02. And then after that is the, further, attached, scope of work from EOR for doing the remaining and the next phases of the project here, so. That's a separate motion.
Okay, the first motion is to adopt resolution 25-01-02. Do I hear anyone who wants to make that motion?
I'll move to adopt resolution 25-01-02.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Any discussion? Thank you, Tori. No discussion. Move on
Okay.
to roll call.
Manager Lowe. Manager Schmaltz,
Aye.
Manager Baki,
Aye.
Manager Taves,
Aye.
President Anderson.
Aye. Proposed motion number 2. I will make motion number 2 to move to authorize the administrator on advice of council to enter into an agreement with EOR in accordance with the January 16th, 2025 scope of work. Tasks 4 through 8 in an amount not to exceed $105,517 and work not to begin until the Associated Clean Water Fund grant agreement is executed. There's a
I will
second.
second that.
Thank you, Manager Taves. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Manager Lowe,
Aye.
Manager Schmaltz,
Aye.
Manager Baki,
Aye.
Manager Taves,
Aye.
President Anderson.
Aye. 7C, moving on, health iron enhanced sand filter acquisition.
Madam President, managers, just wanted to, give you an update here. I think Blaine is also, available. He's been working with the landowners, but just took as much of a reminder about where we are in the process. We presented the original, appraisal last a year ago in January, and then met with the property owners. Blaine has been doing more of the day-to-day component of that. And he's now has it to the point where we have that last, element within the process of this contingent on at least its security by the mortgage company. So, there's just a request at this point to proceed with the, terms once the, that condition is, realized. So,
Anyone want to make this motion? All right, I will make the motion to authorize the administrator on advice of council to complete the acquisition of the Heath Avenue Iron Enhanced Sand Filter Project property as per the terms of the purchase agreement executed on June 13th, 2024. Who's second? Who's gonna second?
I will second that.
Thank you, Manager Taves. Any further discussion? I just want to say thank you, Blaine and Mike and whoever else was involved in this for hanging on. It's been a while in the making, and some of our projects are like that. And it's really good to get to this point of action. So thank you, staff and EOR, for sticking with it. All right, roll call, please.
Manager Lowe,
Aye.
Manager Schmaltz,
Aye.
Manager Baki,
Aye.
Manager Taves,
Aye.
President Anderson.
Aye. Next item, 2025 Blue Water Science Service Agreement.
Madam President, managers, Mike Sander here this evening along with Connor McComas. To go over this, but the information is there. These are very similar to past service agreements. So board could proceed with making the motion and then have a discussion after that if you like.
Yeah, I'll move to approve the 2025 Blue Water Science Agreement for a total contract of. Is there a dollar amount?
I'd be $30,200.
$30,000 and $200.
I'll second. In any discussion? Okay, just again, Blue Water Science has been with us since the very, very beginning, even pre-watershed, so we have a nice history with them. And it's nice to see it hopefully being repeated for another year.
President Anderson,
Yes, sir. Manager Baki.
I guess I'd like to add to that. I've had the privilege of riding along with Steve McComas as he's done delineations on Bone Lake. And I've also attended some of his on-site workshops, and I really appreciate his experience and his knowledge and his good work. So I'm very supportive of this contract.
Yeah, thank you for that comment. Any others? Okay, roll call, please.
Manager Lowe,
Aye.
Manager Schmaltz,
Aye.
Manager Baki,
Aye.
Manager Taves,
Aye.
President Anderson.
Aye. Congratulations, another year. Next item, 2024 year-end education and outreach summary.
Madam President and managers, the next two items, both agenda item 7E and 7F are both informational. There's no, or just discussion only rather, no action. This is for the board's initial review. Adam will be giving a presentation in the first meeting in February. This gives you some ideas of what's been accomplished. I guess I would also encourage managers to, through the lens of adaptive management, consider what other things staff might look at for, further improvement or maybe you have some other questions, feel free to offer them either now or sometime before the next board meeting. We can help then give that in a fuller presentation.
And that's the first meeting in February? So
Correct,
that's what you're
ma'am.
talking about? Okay. And both of them will be presented
Correct.
at that time? Okay.
So you're suggesting we actually submit something in writing so they can actually take action and maybe reflect it in their presentation? Is that the goal?
Yeah, that's kind of the idea for this, was to give kind of the first look, because this has been, it's been in the works the last couple of years. We had the previous year, we had the work plan actually developed, a little more than a year and a half ago, I suppose. But, Adam's been able to commit a lot more time, that is from a resource standpoint. And, we're seeing the development and fruition of that, those activities. So there's a lot more that, and we're having conversations obviously within the shoreline piece. We also have that RFP, that went out as well. So, we're looking to maybe merge those two things, together this spring, of course.
Does he have a send by date in mind? So that he has time to make any changes that?
Thank you, Madam President. Yes, I mean, we seek to get the board packet out the week prior, so we would want no later than the 6th, but
Okay.
we're at really probably a week from tomorrow.
Okay, board, just to repeat, so everybody heard it, we would like comments in by February 6th. If you have comments on either the 2024 report or the 2025 work plan. And those go to Adam, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Send those to Adam, okay. Did you hear that too? Make sure they go to Adam. I just want to make one comment. I saw the newsletter that he produced today, while I was on the computer earlier, and it's really impressive. There's one, I know it's probably a fold over document in person, but the last slide is the only one that didn't come out right. It's upside down. So I don't know if that's been released to the public or if it was just sent to the board today. But if he can fix that, that would be good.
Okay,
All right.
we'll make note of that and get that feedback.
All right, moving on. Old business, 2024 aquatic invasive species report.
Thank you, President Anderson and managers. The 2024 Aquatic Invasive Species Report provides an overview of all AIS activities in the district, focusing on the 7 listed lakes. A recording was provided at the December meeting. The only significant change to the report since then is an update to on the tri-party agreement between the city of Forest Lake, the Forest Lake Lake Association, and Comfort Lake Forest Lake. The 2024 agreement resulted in the city of Forest Lake reimbursing The Forest Lake Association, $4,286. And Comfort Lake Forest Lake Watershed District, $14,736. Both the Forest Lake Association and the City of Forest Lake have expressed interest in renewing the agreement.
Good, thank you. Any questions from the board? Comments? All right,
Oh, I just had one, comment, a couple comments, I guess, this is AIS, right? Just make sure that we have the,
yeah,
full inspections next, right?
2024, yep.
Right, so I think that maybe, and I know we've had a kind of team effort to replace Garrett on this whole thing, so pretty easy to have some information fall through the cracks, but two observations I have. One is that on the tri-party agreement, I think this is a very important agreement, for the Forest Lake Association and for the city and for the public to keep the city involved in this, and I think we should probably have a more detailed showing of that. In some cases, the table would be great, so people could see what they could do. Now, I know Jerry Grundner's been driving this, so maybe you haven't had a chance to contact him, but he should have a table that shows what the final,
Yeah.
the background behind these two statements.
Yep, I have that table and I
Okay.
can provide it to the board.
I think, what I'm thinking is that people, this is gonna be on the website probably, right? So if people go to find out about that, they're not gonna understand too much about it. So this is a very key document, and it's a kind of a model for other lake associations to get local government units involved. And so I think we should try to leverage this as much as possible as far as visibility goes. The other question I had was, an observation was that on watercraft inspections, and I know we're gonna get to this in a second, but since you have a slide on that in this section, it's important, I think, that we not only recognize the funding that we get from the watershed district and from the lake associations, but also the DNR has been an active role in helping us with the boat inspections. In fact, this year, if I recall, it's almost 25% of almost a third of what the watershed district spent. So I think we should actually recognize that in terms of in-kind donations. And I know it's hard because you've got a budget and you've got to match it up against the budget and that, so we can maybe talk about that offline. I don't think we have to walk it out here, but talk about how to handle that. And we've kind of talked about this the last couple of years. It's a difficult thing to handle, but we need to recognize their contribution. And also, I think that, so it's clear what they've done, and we can follow up from there, but be happy to meet with you afterwards so we can talk about how to handle that.
Do you have any comments, Tori?
Not right now.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, we can show that later.
Yeah, I think they donated almost $500 just on Forest Lake, plus on Clear Lake. I mean, Comfort Lake was another $200 or $300, and $500 out of 1,500, that's a third of what we contributed, so.
The
we need-
DNR?
Huh?
The DNR did that?
Yes.
On Comfort?
Not on
Right.
Comfort,
It
just
was-
Forest,
Okay, I wasn't aware of
Which
that.
one?
just Forest, launch one. On the
Okay,
west.
I thought they also did some work on one of the other lakes too, but I'll look at, it'll come up in the watershed
It'll come
report, yeah. So those are the only two comments I have. Otherwise, I think it's a good report, and we can go from there.
Any objection to Manager Smalls's comments? I think they're good, so,
Yeah, thank you.
yeah, it's wonderful. All
President
right,
Anderson?
roll call, please. Yes, sir. Manager Bachman.
Yes, I'd like to comment on the YouTube videos that provide the summary reports on AIS and the watercraft inspections. The YouTube videos are really quite well done. They provide a lot of detailed information on each of the lakes. I would like to, with the permission of the Watershed District, is post those YouTube videos on our Bone Lake Association Facebook page.
I can share those with you.
That would be great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Honestly, all of our lake associations could probably benefit from that as well on our
Yeah,
websites.
one of my concerns is, sometimes I think as board managers, we're the lone voice for our lakes out there, watching out for our lakes and trying to encourage these projects and programs. And it's just a shame that more people aren't aware of all the work that's going into this and how wisely our tax dollars are being spent to improve our lakes. And so I think this is a good way to do that, is by using social media, and maybe people will see it.
I think that's a great idea, and maybe just make that a process for, all the lakes and we've only got 3 lake associations, but, yeah, absolutely. Wait until you see the newsletter, though. That's going out to everybody, and, that does a really wonderful job of giving some history, and then also the current past year, 2024, and then some also, paragraph or so on what we've got planned for 2025. So it was really well done, and I think you're all going to enjoy it when you see it. Well, I don't think we need a vote on that. Is there any objection to passing those along for process inclusions? Okay, very good, thank you. Let's move on to Blue Water Science year-end.
A motion was not made on either the AIS or watercraft inspection report.
Oh, the reports. Thank you, Tori. Yes, this is a report, and so just to make it easy, I'll make the motion to accept the comments made by Manager Schmaltz tonight for inclusion in the process, and then to accept the annual report.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Sorry.
All right, Manager Lowe,
Aye.
Manager Schmaltz,
Aye.
Manager Baki,
Aye.
Manager Taves,
Aye.
President Anderson.
Aye. Okay, C, moving on to Blue Water Science year-end reports.
Was that an approval for both of the reports or just the AIS report?
Oh, did we do one? We didn't do one?
We haven't done the EAS report or the watershed or the boat inspection report yet.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go- Thank you. 8B, watershed or watercraft inspection report.
Madam President, managers, so Tori's been working on this along with Mike Sandiger, so, you saw the videos and obviously you commented on them. If there's any particular questions, you could proceed with making a motion, then have a discussion.
Okay. I'll move to approve the 2024 watercraft inspection program year-end reports. Need a second?
I'll second. it.
counting. Thank you. I count to 5, and if nobody says anything, then that's when I jump in.
Yeah, we'll
So,
have to get double pay for this meeting.
that's right. Okay, thank you, Manager Baki. Any discussion on the motion?
I do have one point I just want to reinforce. You have one chart on there, the first chart, the watercraft inspection program funds per lake.
Mhm.
So this is kind of where we have to look at how we can incorporate the DNR work in here. I know it's difficult because we got a budget and they're not part of the budget. And I think we pay $20 an hour, so if they donated 500 hours, you can make that $10,000. And maybe we put it in a footnote, but let's meet offline and figure out how we can set this up so each year we can carry it forward. Some years it's a lot and some years it's not, so, but this year it's pretty important, I think.
I have an idea that we can discuss later.
And the other question I had on this particular chart is that FL stands for the City of Forest Lake, right?
Yes.
I might
Yeah.
wanna just put that down as a clarification. Again, we're trying to get our partners as much recognition, and that could just stand for Forest Lake, could stand for the Lake Association, could stand for the city. And then my other question then is, I thought that the Forest Lake Association contributed to this program, but I don't see them on here.
They did.
This year they did not because it was part of the tri-party agreement.
Okay, all right.
So it was taken out of the total amount from the,
So it's an indirect contribution. If you will. The way I'm interpreting.
that's how it was this past, that's
what-
how we interpreted this past year.
Because the city paid to the Lake Association and to the Watershed District. So then that would mean that the Lake Association did not have to pay out to the other partners, including us, for this activity. It's
Okay.
again, it's another, but you make a good point, they're contributing, but it's not through the tri-party agreement, not necessarily directly to anyone. I mean, if we were to do, if we had a presentation on contribution of certain AIS on Forest Lake, then that number would be reflected
Okay.
there, but yes,
So the tri-party numbers are not in this chart then?
They're under the Forest Lake, contributions,
Forest Lake
Under the
City,
city.
under the city Forest Lake contributions.
for the boat inspections.
inspections.
Hmm.
Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna have to think about this before we get together.
So is the association contributing to the city? And there's one check coming to?
Well, we all have a responsibility. The city, the Forest Lake is 20%.
Mhm.
Whatever spent on the lake for AIS or watercraft inspections, and including harvesting, they pick up 20% of it.
So, well, is the Lake Association making a contribution?
Yes, they should be able to, because they're part of the tri-party.
Have they in the past made an
Yes.
actual monetary contribution?
I'll have to review with Jerry to be sure.
Yeah,
So
okay.
They made,
I think it's $3,700 is what they contributed, if I recall from last year.
so for the.
And now whether it all got used or not, because we have grants coming in, and the grants are taken first before we put our own money in, I believe, isn't that right, Mike? So, so it could be that, we didn't even have to use their money, because there was another of the larger grants that didn't require their money, but
The grants don't count towards our portion of the contribution of the,
they don't.
no, just for the tri-county.
Can you go check on America's
But they do
food,
get
please?
used.
So the way the finances were broken down for the tri-party agreement, the watercraft inspector's salaries were included as the Comfort Lake Forest Lake contributions. And then the Forest Lake Association had a total of $28,691 of contribution. And that included EWM treatment, Starry Stormward survey, and the permit for the harvester. So that would have contributed towards the watercraft inspector salaries as part of the agreement.
Okay,
Is that satisfactory?
well, I think we'll just meet separately
Okay.
and look at it. I'm a
Okay.
little confused myself now, so if I haven't been directly involved. in it.
Okay, all right.
I just know that we're trying to recognize everybody that contributes, because we want to reinforce that and, make it get as much as we can from the city and so forth. And if they give a lot of money, they're not even on the giving list, it doesn't help us any.
Sure. I'm gonna make this motion, to accept the report pending, review with, Manager Schmaltz about the Forest Lake Association contributions.
Thank you. And I'll review it with the Lake Association. It may not be an issue with them at all, so I'll just check with them first and then see where we are then.
Okay. All right, is there a second for that motion?
I'll
I'll
second.
second. Okay, Manager Taves got it.
Manager, is that you, Manager Lowe? Or Taves?
I seconded it. I did the second.
Okay, thank you, Manager Taves. Roll call, please.
Manager Lowe,
Aye.
Manager Schmaltz,
Aye.
Manager Baki,
Aye.
Manager Taves,
Aye.
President Anderson.
Aye. Motion carries. Moving on to 8C, Blue Water Science Year-End Reports.
And President and Managers, with Connor, McComas here this evening to, go through these reports and has some slides to present. On that last item too, the other thing we could potentially do is establish one page or something about the tri-party agreement.
That's what I was thinking of, getting a bit more visibility.
Yeah, just so then it's also on the record.
Right.
So,
Okay, Connor?
Madam President, Board Managers, thank you for having me tonight. Happy to be here and kind of report on some of our, some of our findings from 2024. So we're going to be going over Bone Lake, a number of lakes here, starting with Bone Lake. A lot of what we're doing here is reviewing both of our aquatic invasive species delineations and assessments. So we're mainly looking at curly pondweed and Eurasian water milfoil in these lakes here. So we're gonna start with Bone, we'll move to Comfort, Moody, Shields, and finish with Forest Lake. Some other brief activities going on was a starry stonewort search in Forest Lake at the accesses. No starry stonewort was found. But in 2024, there was a lot of meandering GPS surveys. And my objectives here tonight are just to give a little brief overview of what we did, a lot of pictures. I believe the reports are linked online if anybody is interested in looking a little bit more. So going on to Bone Lake here, we're looking first at Curly Pondweed. And in 2024, we did not have a treatment conducted. To start off the year, early in the year in April, there was a little bit of curly growing in scattered patches. And they never were really coalescing into a treatment area, so there was no treatment done in 2024. When we came back in May, middle of May, should be near peak growing conditions. There was not much curly leaf as well. And in fact, we have not treated curly leaf in Bone Lake since 2021. So I think we're on a good track there. We'll kind of see how it kind of continues to go in the future. But moving on to Bone Lake Eurasian water milfoil. Again, I think we are on a good trend here for Bone Lake. There has been no treatment in 2024. We were able to check the status of Eurasian water milfoil on 3 different dates in Bone Lake. We found only scattered individual stems for the most part, with a few sites were maybe with moderate to heavy growth. However, again, there was not really any areas to treat, no areas that would be a nuisance condition that might require treatment. So nothing was done in 2024 for the milfoil. Yeah, go ahead.
And President, I'll just note, since we're on the slide here, for Bone Lake in that northeast area, historically, that was a hot spot based off of, what, Stephen McComas has presented in the past about nitrogen. So that Clean Water Fund project we did in that wetland up there, where you physically remove that nutrient source, now seems to be aligning up with the reduced presence of Eurasian water milfoil in that part of the lake.
Oh, no, that's a good point.
That's absolutely
To bring
true.
out, yeah.
And kind of my next 2 slides will show that a little bit
Okay.
as well. So here is a slide here, first starting for the last 10 years. This is all the Eurasian water milfoil of moderate to heavy growth that was observed throughout the close to 20 or 22 surveys. However, in the next slide, we can kind of see the last 5 years. And we have a real dramatic decrease in that Eurasian water milfoil growth, both on the north and south ends, but specifically on that north end, it is almost, it's rare now. So that's, I think, a really positive step for Bone Lake and,
Well, this is
for the water quality in
this is
general.
10-year impact that we were talking about, the history on these. So this report could be used just for that purpose. I like the way you did this, because we did the same thing with our long-term goals. And we were going, using 10-year markers, but all of that heavy pre-treatment or pre-project numbers were pulling down our actual current position. And so I think this is a great way to do it. When you've had as many projects going on as we have, or activity in this area to moderate all of this, it's important to show them, yeah, this was the beginning, but here's where we are now. That's wonderful.
Yeah, I think we are making progress there. And again, we haven't treated Eurasian milfoil now for a couple of years. It hasn't been needed at this time. So other observations are that plants are coming back a little bit. But moving on to the zebra mussels, we did a quick zebra mussel search on October 21st on Bone Lake. Zebra mussels were first found in Bone Lake in 2019. Then they were eliminated from the lake with a treatment. We did, however, observe a little signs of more zebra mussels in the lake, and through sampling both with zooplankton stage of the zebra mussels, the villagers, and it's not actually a zooplankton, sorry, but it is a small, smaller version of the free swimming zebra mussel. However, in 2024, we did another search. We had 4 searchers. We spent, I forget how many hours at this time, but we had divers, snorkelers, and people looking at aquatic plants from the boat as well. We did not find any zebra mussels in 2024 in Bone Lake.
Wow.
Let me ask a quick
Well,
question.
Yeah, just to kind of, I guess, to summarize a little bit, we're not really certain what the status is, but we believe they are below detection at this point. And that's really all we can say, that all we know at this time.
Manager Baki, you had a question?
Yes, if I may. A number of us as volunteers have had plates on our docks around Bone Lake, and those were turned in this fall. It's my understanding that there were no zebra mussels found on those plates either. So, and as far as I know, we haven't had any reports of zebra mussels on docks, boat lifts, or anything else as people pulled them in this fall.
Oh, great. That's great to hear. And that's a good reminder too, that the docks can almost act as a pretty good substrate samplers for the zebra mussels as well. So that's a positive sign. And those samplers do work as well. So that's good to hear. It's great news.
Madam President,
Minister Kenny?
just, for Bone Lake, just a reminder too that, and others as well. If you are hiring somebody to bring in a new boat lift or dock, please make sure it's out of the water for the requisite amount of time. Cause that's we believe to be a fairly common transport method for zebra mussels. And since you don't have it, at least any large number, you don't want it.
Right,
So,
exactly.
It's a very good point. That is a big vector for spread. It's not only boats, but our objects in the water over a long period of time. So-
You know, that's an important point too. We don't do enough, I think, maybe our boat people do, but, inspectors, but it's everything. It's the line, it's the rods, it's your jackets, you know, your life jackets if they get in. So, yeah, it's always good to remind people, it's not just the boat.
Right.
Okay,
So this is just kind of summarizing bone. We have had some decreases in both curly leaf and Eurasian water milfoil. The north end has been significantly reduced. South end isn't as bad either. And we've had enough time with milfoil in the lake that it has been exposed to all areas of the lake. And we're not seeing any continuing increasing in milfoil. So that's positive going forward. And with no zebra mussels spotted or observed in 2024, we'll keep our eyes open and keep on the lookout. But I appreciate what the Bone Lake group is doing, and it's good for them to be informed and kind of aware of the situation out there. So moving on to Comfort Lake, starting with the curly leaf pondweed again. In 2024, we had a significant increase in curly leaf pondweed. We haven't had to treat curly leaf in Comfort in a number of years. However, early in the season, we were seeing curly leaf growing in about 4 feet to 6 feet of water, and kind of a narrow slip of water in there where that curly leaf was really growing. So we did end up circling up some acres for that. Our control in the treatment areas was less than we kind of hoped for. There was still standing curly leaf a month after, a week and a half, 2 weeks after treatment. 2024 was a strange year for curly leaf pondweed growth. All indications were that it would have really good growth and weather conditions to really produce a lot. We had a short winter, we had low snowpack. So we were thinking that curly leaf would be growing a lot, but as it turns out, some lakes had less, some had more. It was really all over the board. We couldn't precisely predict it. It was just a strange 2024, 23 leading into 24. So that was a little odd. I'll keep on going here. For Comfort Lake Eurasian water milfoil, this is kind of a big deal right now with Comfort Lake. There's been a very aggressive Eurasian water milfoil treatment program that has been pretty successful. Starting back in 2022, there was a whole lake treatment done. Since then, one spot treatment has been needed, and that was last year. In 2024, there was no Eurasian water milfoil treatment. The milfoil that was present was mostly single stemmed, but over the years, we've seen a lot more than just single stemmed milfoil in Comfort Lake. It's been quite widespread, scattered quite a bit around the lake. Again, growing not much deeper than about 6 or 7 feet, but it's been a nuisance kind of within that dock range for some time. However, again, in 2024, it was not really a big impact. For Comfort Lake specifically, there were some questions regarding whether or not the whole lake treatment would have impacts on the plant community or the lake at large. And with our surveys going forward after that, we have seen native aquatic plants come back and grow throughout the lake basin.
Mhm.
And another positive thing that we've seen is not a complete lack of plants, which could potentially cause turbidity in the water. And we've actually seen improving water quality in Comfort Lake, which is a fairly good sign, both with clarity and algae. So that should really help the overall plant community, the water quality, and I think we're on a good trend there as well overall. So
Is this it for Comfort?
I have just one kind of the summary slide for Comfort. So we have seen a little bit of curly leaf pondweed increase, but it was interesting how that started. We had a 2023 August survey where we had curly leaf, and that was kind of rare. It's not something we typically see in August, in that sort of month timeframe. Not really sure why that cropped up, but we don't believe it had a relationship with the Floridone treatment in the lake. We just think that it had an opportune time and kind of sprouted up. Likewise, in 2024, I think that's what happened.
2024 was weird though. I mean, we had such high water in Comfort. It was unbelievable. Docks that were underwater for a long period of time, a lot of rain. We were only able to get out on the water for the last week in June, July, and then August was a little bit better. So we didn't have a lot of boat activity that year either. So yeah, it was interesting. I had one comment on the Comfort Lake area. There is a chart for all the different species of plants that you did, right? It doesn't show a lot of alternative plants other than, tracing the EWM. If you can get that slide up, it would be important for people to see it. But one of the things that wasn't commented on in that chart was lilies. And the cover picture on our report shows a tagline that says water lilies were common in Comfort Lake on July 26, 2024. So that's correct. That statement is correct. The absence of those on the chart is not correct. We always have a lot of lilies around Comfort. Some years more than others, but you might want to check that chart. I think there's a mistake there.
Is that on the, I'm sorry, is that on the report?
Yeah.
Or is that?
Yeah, it's not.
We're trying to pull it up right now.
Yeah.
Sure. Right, and the lilies in there kind of do make treating milfoil a little bit extra difficult. With the presence of lilies, we do not necessarily want to be treating with Eurasian water milfoil.
Well, no, but my point is that it's not listed that we have lilies on that chart, but it is a comment underneath the picture. So your chart's not correct, is what I'm saying. Okay?
Right.
So make sure we have lilies because the DNR is watches very carefully for Comfort because we've always had that lily population, which is a good sign. And we don't want to have anything out there that suggests otherwise. Okay.
We'll make sure that's correct.
All right, thank you. Anything else? Comfort?
On Comfort, that's pretty much what I had. We'll continue to track milfoil to make sure that it's not growing too out of control. We do want to keep a handle on that while it's still under control. We'll continue to monitor curly leaf, and I'm expecting less for 2025.
Yeah.
Certainly. That's all for Comfort. I'll try to move through the next two a little bit quicker here. We have Moody starting here, and we're doing curly leaf pondweed surveys here, both pre-treatment and post-treatment. However, in 2024, no curly leaf treatment was conducted. We had a little bit of, again, these narrow patches of curly leaf. In Moody Lake, the curly leaf is growing from about 3 feet to 7 feet, occasionally out to 8 or 9 feet. but really a lot of our moderate to heavy growth is in that range. No treatment was conducted. One of the reasons is we're trying to limit some of these chemicals in our lakes where we're actually trying to get plants to grow in a lot of these lakes to promote the good water quality, to promote the clarity over the course of the summer growing season. And sometimes when we kill plants, it's not always beneficial for the overall water quality or the plant community at large. But we did see just a bit of curly leaf around the edges in Moody Lake. The water quality is still very good in Moody, and it's a pretty lake overall. We have seen a little bit sorry, going back to Moody real quick, I believe there was a question that came up over the course. We have seen other aquatic plants come in, such as flat stem pondweed, large leaf pondweed, which we did not find in the PI, but we did observe. Other species are Cara, Nitella, Naiads, Elodea, and Coontail are also present in the lake. So the lake has a fair diversity, and sometimes we get that curly leaf growing in that month of June, from May to June a little bit. So
That diversity is good, though.
diversity is good, and it's what we want to see that, and we don't want to really necessarily kill extra plants if we don't have to.
Sure.
And moving on to Shields, it's another lake that we did a point intercept at the beginning of the year and kind of a point intercept towards the late spring, I guess, early summer. So we're really trying to capture this curly pondweed growth before it is at its maximum extent and then when it's at its maximum extent. There was a small treatment area of 1.18 acres conducted. And upon the post-treatment assessment, we found that we had really good control on the lake. It was where it was treated, there was no more curly leaf pondweed. And again, treating 1 acre is a small area, but we thought that maybe we could help the public area there on the lake to help the fishermen and recreational people there. That's pretty much it for Shields Lake. Moody and Shields are 2 smaller lakes, but now we get kind of to the bigger lake here, which is Forest Lake.
Yeah.
So they're in Forest Lake 2024. We actually had quite a decrease in the overall curly leaf growth at the beginning of the season. So here in April, which is earlier than we typically do our surveys, and most years we're out at the end of April to mid-May, but again, 2024 being an odd year, we were out there early. Curly leaf was growing a fair amount in Lake 1. That's where we really saw the heavy growth to begin the year. We ended up treating 15.79 acres, which is significantly below some of our other treatment acreages from the past years. So after the treatment was done, we came back for a post-treatment assessment. And well, I kind of got displaced in there someplace, but so here we have kind of a summary of the treatments that have been done in the past. As you can see, 2024 was significantly reduced compared to 23, 22, and 21. A lot of treatment areas there. Hard to tell why the curly leaf didn't come in, why it wasn't quite as heavy as it has been in years past. But I think we're on a good track there, and we're hoping for less acres the better for treating curly leaf. We want to minimize our curly leaf growth and ideally treat as few acres as possible there. But we'll treat the heavy growth and nuisance growth if it's there. So kind of going on here. On to the milfoil in Forest Lake. So initially, first occurrence was in 2015. We've been tracking it since then. Going on to the next slide, we kind of can see in 2023 growth. This is June 13th, 23. We only had it in Lake 1 at 2 sites. And as we go into the later season in 2023, we found a little bit more in August. And at that point, we were treating milfoil in 2023. We did not find any milfoil in Lake Two, however, later, now, yeah, this is 2023, so we're not finding a lot of milfoil at this time. And it's not growing in June, it's really producing heavy growth kind of in August. But however, in 2024, we had a kind of a setback. We had a significant amount of Eurasian water milfoil at the surface on June 20th, 2024. There were numerous acres, I believe about 48 acres, 47.9 or so, but this was on Lake Two. So we went ahead and treated this, and we tried to get it all. We got as much as possible. We circled up everything in Lake Two. This was a very aggressive growing non-native milfoil. This map does say Eurasian water milfoil, but that's probably incorrect. This was a non-native water milfoil, likely a hybrid, I do believe, but I don't have that data in front of me. But however, so we treated these acres, and then we came back later to kind of see what happened in those treatment areas. And we had a really good control. A combination of Procelicor, 2,4-D, and I believe Dicot was used to treat the milfoil areas here. And those herbicides were split. So 5 areas used Procelicor, and 2 areas used a Dicot, I do believe. Again, good control in Lake Two. We saw a little bit in Lake One, but we really wanted to hit this aggressively growing heavy milfoil, as you can see with the black outlines here. And again, we had good control, and we didn't see any comeback for the rest of the year there, like we had. But that's an important thing to keep tracking. It was anomaly, but we do want to stay on top of that, especially since it grows so vigorously, hitting the surface in about 9 to 10 feet of water by June 20th. That was very impressive growth of Eurasian water milfoil there. So this is just kind of a summary of the acres that have been treated, both for curlyleaf pondweed and Eurasian water milfoil over the years. We can maybe make a graphic of that in the future here, but I wanted to move on a little bit to flowering rush summary for 2024. To start off the year, this is a pre-treatment map showing our areas of flowering rush in Forest Lake. So we started off the year with a fair amount of red dots, which represent 500 or more square feet. But as time went on, we had the first treatment done. And on July 29th, the first treatment was done. To follow that up, flower heads were removed. We want to remove as many flower heads as possible in Forest Lake. The flower heads have been found to be viable, the seed's viable, so we do want to keep tracking those flower heads. After that first treatment, here's the map showing the results from September 16. We did have a reduction in flowering rush, but as we've found in the past, it's a challenge to get every single stem of this plant. So we ended up doing another treatment, and that happened later in the year on October 3rd. And we came back to check the flowering rush again, and we had a significant reduction, and it was good to see less overall, both abundance and counts of patches. So I think that was a positive going forward. We've been kind of working with a herbicide applicator to really dial it in. And as on the next slide kind of shows the series of both delineations shown in blue. And then the treatment areas are shown in red. Or the resulting post-treatment results are found. So we've made substantial progress. As we've learned in other systems, this is a challenging plant to contain and control, especially when the flowers are viable. So we want to make sure that we are managing the flower heads as well as being careful to uproot and spread any more flowering rush there. I think I've already kind of taken quite a bit of time here today, but I'd be happy to answer any questions and talk any further about some of the lakes. But all the lakes have been very pretty, and I'm glad to have the opportunity to work on them. I think we are making strides for both water quality and on our aquatic invasive species. But it's a challenge, and we have to be persistent at it as well.
Yeah, and I think the early treatments are very important too. Instead of, even though they're small numbers, you want to stop the spread. And in the long run, it pays off. Any comments on the Forest Lake report? No?
Nope.
I just have a question about the alum treatments. Is there any impact for the alum treatments that you've noticed? Anything we need to be concerned about, or?
Not off the top of my head. I do think that they're holding up. These lakes are both in terms of the clarity and algae and phosphorus. So specifically in like Moody Lake has had
Yeah.
great results there.
Yeah.
And others as well.
But in Forest Lake specifically, it's our largest lake. Is that working? Are we seeing new plants come back, or?
It was hard to tell this year. Now in Forest Lake, we are only doing our GPS meander surveys, specifically targeting Eurasian water milfoil
Gotcha.
and curlyleaf.
Okay.
The 2023 Point Intercept survey did show a fair amount of species diversity, but a lot of native plants abundance as well.
Okay.
So something we're working on.
Okay. Any other
President
comments?
Anderson?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I guess I would, on occasion, we do get questions about the reports and the data that's in there. It's such wonderful, rich data that we get from Blue Water Science. How can we access the reports so if we we can share them?
They are linked on the website. I can also send it to you without the cover memo on it if you'd like that as well.
Or split them up.
Oh, split them up for Lake.
Yes,
Yeah,
Yes.
I can do that.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks for that
Thank you, Gary.
question. Yeah,
So do we have to accept the report?
yes, we do. Let me make this motion because I want to add the Comfort Lake change to that, or you can add it.
No, go ahead.
But, okay, I'm gonna move to accept the title, right, Blue Water Science year-end reports, leaving time to adjust the Comfort Lake data as presented.
I'll second that.
All right, Manager Lowe.
Hey.
Manager Schmaltz.
Aye.
Manager Baki.
Aye.
Manager Taves.
Aye.
President Anderson.
Aye. Motion carries. Floodplain vulnerability modeling report.
Right, President and managers, we have Cecilia Olivia here along with Dr. Wilkinson to go over this material. I believe they have some slides. Is that right or not? Are you just gonna talk through it?
Cecilia's taking the lead on this one.
Okay.
Yeah,
Mr. Olivia.
Madam Chair, managers, given the agenda and the fact that we have been talking about this issue a number of times and present it to you and talk about it, I felt that the report is self-explanatory, and talking to Emily, she thought it probably would be better just to answer the questions that you may have on the report. The report is going to be, well, the results of this report, not all of them, but some of them will be used in the public involvement meetings that Camilla and Emily are going to start soon.
We've allowed 20 minutes, 25 minutes for your report. So I think it's helpful with a report like this to have you at least do a brief walkthrough so that we're current and up to date with this phase?
Well, I'm talking to a staff, I have nothing prepared, at this point.
Oh, okay.
But,
I
I
see.
can definitely do it next time if needed. We'll probably read most of the slides that I used in the past.
And I know, Madam President, you had maybe indicated at some point you wanted to, it's correct to say, see how the model worked, but, different kind of presentation perhaps. I think even at the last meeting, or it was the last meeting that we had, Bill, you from the, right, give some, we could see sort of a lapse scenario, so they were selling that already, but I guess it's really up to the board. We do have our public meeting scheduled for February, and just proceeding accordingly. But I guess
Yeah, Madam Chair. Madam Chair,
Yes.
Manager, I can definitely provide a presentation next time. It's not going to be an issue. I was just told that probably in the interest of time, and since the report has been, a part of the report has been already presented to the board a couple of times, that we just answer questions. So.
Well, let me ask this question right now. There are a number of references to the updated and improved, or I can't remember the exact word, but updated certainly was one of them on the Forest Lake areas, for enhancement or improvement. So does that mean that you're going off of updated storm systems that have already been put into place, or are these based on their plans to do so?
Just strictly the storm system that is in place right now.
Okay, and this is going to include that entire area, right? On the
Correct.
map that we're concerned with as priority areas? Good.
Correct, and that will be a very important part of my understanding is for this presentation have been citizens in those key areas that have been approached via mail or other ways, and encouraging them to come to the meeting so we can actually talk about specifically those areas and all of the flooding and the issues there.
Well, this is critical, obviously, for the Comfort Lake areas, because the urban stormwater that we're getting primarily comes from that source, the urban areas, the developed areas of Forest Lake City. And, it's been decades that we've been wanting to get this information so that we can quantify how much water is really coming from there. So these areas are the ones that have been completed. And so there's got to be areas that haven't been completed yet. And I'm sure that's part of the information that you've gathered. So, so I think it's important for us to have sort of the brief kind of overview that we got from Connor tonight with a project of this importance. And if that's at the next meeting, that's fine.
I think that could be accomplished.
Okay.
Mr. Olivier, is that scheduled for the next meeting? Did that work?
Yeah, that's your work, and I apologize for what happened. I mean, my intention, as I said, was to present it in interest of time. The one thing that Madam Chair, you mentioned, the model is definitely very detailed and encompasses all the drainage going into Comfort Lake. So everything from the upstream to the downstream, with more detail, obviously, in the area that is urban area, and less detail in the area. So we have a pretty good picture of anything that we do, what is going to be the impact. One of the things I mentioned last time, it is, and we're going to be presenting all this to the public and get input from the public and from the cities, and will be interesting what the city people say on that. They confirm or not what we're finding and the modeling. But what I think that we need to keep in mind is that the model would allow us to really check any potential improvements to decrease flooding. And let's say that you have a city in which we identify there are a significant number of areas that could get flooded. You may not have room to do ponding, let's say, and the only way sometimes of reducing flooding is by increasing or upgrading infrastructure, which means that that's going to have obviously some consequence in terms of more volume of water or more flow going into the Sunrise River. So I want to be cautious that, I mean, this is not something that is like, okay, we have the model, okay, let's figure out how we're going to be, you know, dealing with flooding, and then we'll be done. I mean, it is interactive, and it's and the problem we have, you know, to a certain extent, is that we have an area that's already developed, so we have to become really creative in terms of how to solve the flooding in a way that will not affect downstream.
Yeah, well, I think that map that we had before on the Iron Enhanced filter project, and you see that boundary that comes into very close to Forest Lake itself. A lot of that is a wetland area, and there is development happening near North Shore Trail on some of those areas that were treed heavily and wetlands. And so it's happening. And so if we're just, you know, replacing wetland areas and treed areas with housing, there's going to be some impact. So we need to make sure that we're working closely with the city on that. Yes, Manager Schmaltz.
Yeah, Cecile, can I ask you a question? Has your firm actually made presentations to the public on these kinds of projects before, or just the first one that you're attempting?
Yes, many times. I mean, one of them, for instance, recently, the city of, I think I mentioned this, the city of Rochester hired us to do a complete modeling of the city. And that's a huge city, it was a huge project, and they have been presenting results. I mean, the modeling and the results and the recommendations for improvement, you know, for the last 2 or 3 years is a very long uncomplicated project. So that's one example. I mean, there have been other examples, obviously.
Okay, that's good to know, because I think our biggest concern is that, you know, we hear all the time that we're too technical when we work with the lake associations, et cetera. And even though our board managers understand it, and we're not the most sophisticated people to begin with, but they have even more trouble. So we have to be sensitive of that situation, and you don't want to get out there with a big shot, you know, at it, and then find out that we're 3 feet above their heads. So since you've been through this before, I think our concern is less, but it'd be good for us if we could have a trial run or hear some of what you're going to say.
Absolutely.
And then I think we'd all feel a little bit more comfortable about it, because this has been an issue, at least with my constituents on the Lake Association. We're trying to get them more involved, and all we hear is that it's too technical.
Well, we haven't seen the actual program in action, showing what it looks like at different rain event levels. So that would be important.
Yes, just to clarify, the purpose of this report was to initiate or provide information that can be used for the public meetings that is going to be handled by a different consultant. And it's going to be somewhat involved, Emily's involved, and Camilla's involved in kind of providing information. So the information here that is quite technical is not the same information that's going to be presented. I mean, just looking at the maps and providing a map and talking about what do you think about this area? Where do you live? Have you seen this type of problems? When and how? This is kind of the interaction with the public that is going to happen. So the technical part of it is important, because obviously when we go and say, well, the public said that they're really interested about this area, what can we do there? Then we have to go into the technical portion of it and the model. But it's not, the intention is not present this to the public, just use some of the maps that we have developed and get the public input. And maybe Emily can talk about this. I mean, I'm not really involved in this part of the project, so I really would like to see what is the public involvement and how the consultant is going to be involved, and how this information is going to be used.
Can I ask a follow-up question though, Cecilio? I think what we're trying to get at is to see how this modeling graphically shows what the impact of development can be in a particular area, and that the planning for that has to be careful so that you're not sending more water downstream. That's what I'm looking for, is that graphic representation of different scenarios, whether it be higher rain events or it converting a natural area to an urban area. And what impact is that going to have in that particular area? That's the model I saw at the MOD meeting here about 5 years ago. And it was graphic and it was perfect for showing people, you know, you can talk about it, but it really shows people the impact of different rain events and different land uses.
That definitely can be, you know, we can do that, and we can do that in a much better and accurate way. That that particular model was, by the way, it was old, and it was just for a particular city, portion of the city, which is not that impressive. So that can be done with this model. I mean, any question that you may have in terms of how development will affect if we have this area that is wetland, is get developed, or how about if we have a density area here, how is that going to be impacting downstream? All that is part of it. We can answer pretty much a lot of questions. The question in my mind is how, I mean, what is the next step? How the public, you know, think about how interesting, how, you know, to use this model specifically the cities. I'll be very interested because I mean, flooding the city is a city issue first and foremost. So the question is, we can provide this model, we can use it for, you know, for this purpose. But when it comes to potential solutions or improvements, then it becomes tricky in terms of, you know, who takes the lead on that. And I guess the watershed will have to decide how this is done.
Yeah, well, it's not just cities though. It's in any area that has a ditch running through it or a stream running through it or a river system running through it. Any of those are all, you know, those kinds of situations exist everywhere in our districts, our entire watershed district. And so we have to be able to show that impact, like I said, in those different areas. So homeowners are going to be curious about that. Landowners are going to be curious about that. Farmers are going to be curious about that. So we have to be prepared. Your system has to be prepared to show those different scenarios in a graphic form.
Yeah, that's something we can definitely do. Yeah, I mean, it's not if it was the purpose of those meetings. So
yeah.
All right. So
okay. All right. Very good. Any other questions or comments from the board, staff?
So we're going to postpone the motion then until next meeting?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Or do we have to?
I don't know. Do we? What does it say?
Except the report. We haven't seen a report yet, have we?
I think this is it.
President Anderson, I could maybe provide some clarifying comments if it would help.
Thank you, Emily. Most welcome.
Okay, thank you. So, Madam President, managers, this topic was discussed at the January 9th regular board meeting, and the maps that were shown at that meeting, there's really no material changes to those maps. Those scenarios that Bill had shown then, that's what's going to be in this technical report. And so that's what Cecilia was getting at of, we've basically showed you the meat of what this report is, you know, how those maps work and that how that changed over time, the flooding scenario in the downtown area. And so the report that's here in the board packet, it goes through some additional detail and it talks about what goes into it and everything. But really the majority of the mapping has already been shown to the board. And so that's why we were thinking we wouldn't have to rehash the mapping here, but you could just read the report and see that extra detail and feel comfortable just accepting the report. And then we had also provided an updated timetable in that memo. And so if the board had any questions about that project timetable, we could go over that now as well.
Well, I remember that, but the point is that are we going to be graphically able to show this in our meetings with the public? So they're not just looking at paper. They're actually seeing in real time what these scenarios can create, right? As far as flooding goes. Rain events, you know, high rain events, land use changes and so forth. Those are important. So Cecilia said that they can do that. Their modeling does that. And so that's good.
Yeah,
I'll
I
make a motion that
Yes,
I'm sorry.
no, that's
I
okay,
mean,
go ahead.
Madam Chair, managers, I think there was one presentation, maybe a couple of meetings ago, in which I had Bill going and showing the flooding in real time, in terms of, how the flooding, how it evolves, at what time you have flooding areas, and then how the flooding really disappear with time. So all that is a capability the model has. And the only question is, how do we want to use it for this purpose, which is, not very technical. It's just, as Emily was saying, get the input from the public. To what point we want to overwhelm the public with this type of I mean, it's really, the model can do a lot of things. So it's really up to the board, up to the Emily and others to tell us, what is that they need.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll move then to accept the engineer's floodplain modeling phase 3 technical report.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Manager Taves. Manager Smalls, any other comments, discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Manager Lowe,
Aye.
Manager Schmaltz,
Aye.
Manager Bachman.
Aye.
Manager Taves.
Aye.
President Anderson.
Aye. Next, district vehicle.
Madam President, managers, we brought this up earlier in January and provided some additional information here. Presently, again, just kind of going through the potential or the current use for district staff to get out and about, but there's some additional value that we could include in here, and that's just simply having a consistent, not a different vehicle showing up all the time at all these sites, but rather being consistent, having a logo. We could even maybe wrap it with some fun things so everybody knows it's the district code. But overall, again, there's I think there's just the value and the opportunity right now for this particular vehicle. It did confirm that they're still available, but if there's any more particular questions, we have a motion and have a discussion.
Okay, I'll move to amend the 2025 budget for account 3-010-A to, how many dollars do we have to move?
27,000, it looks like.
Maybe I got an earlier printout version. I don't have that number in mind. Is it on yours?
Yeah, there's currently a $7,500 IRS commercial clean vehicle credit unless it's been drawn away by.
Yes, but we'll get that separately. I should have made note of that. We actually, the original price is gonna be $33,595, but I guess I would just say make it 34,000. So then if there's any other additional costs or things that come along the way, we'll have the money in there.
So $34,000 and the transfer $34,000 from account 000-2900, which is the reserve fund, to account 3-010-A.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Manager Taves. Manager Smalls, any further discussion?
And I think Administrator Kinney and staff have answered a lot of the questions I raised and other people raised at the last meeting.
Mhm.
So I'm certainly much more comfortable with this than I was at the last meeting. So I think we've got all the i's dotted, t's crossed. So, I'm in favor of going ahead with this.
Yeah, I just wonder if there's still a discount available. That was my only question. Because electric vehicles were any credits and special programs to encourage the public to buy them has been eliminated. So is it still there? Is it still available?
Madam President, yes, it is.
Okay.
That was appropriated by Congress, so it's It'll
doesn't-
take longer,
Yeah, that doesn't
Yeah.
seem to matter, but,
So-
okay.
it's still available.
All right, very good. All right, so, roll call, please.
Manager
President
Lowe.
Anderson,
Yes, sir.
as I
Manager
recall,
Lowe, excuse me.
Manager Baki.
No, who's
Baki.
talking? Oh, Baki, I'm sorry.
It's not
Manager
easy.
Baki. Yeah, it's not
I
easy,
know,
yeah.
I made all kinds of
Yeah.
mistakes.
Just a voice out here in the wilderness. As I recall, at our last meeting, we
Voice
discussed
recognition program.
the
Colored
possibility of,
buttons.
okay, now listen up.
Oh,
We discussed the possibility of looking at used EVs, and we didn't receive any information about that. And I'm just wondering if we're not gonna look at that, or if that is still a possibility.
thank you. That's true.
Madam
Manager,
President?
yes, so.
Madam President,
Yes, Mr. Taves.
after that meeting, I did some looking, and I didn't find anything used that was even close to the price that we'd be getting. And also, I think it was addressed in the paper we were given too, that used cars are
Right,
not
it was.
available for this purchase program.
Okay,
Right.
all right. Administrator Kenny, you wanted to say something?
I was just going to note that the used vehicles are not available through the state contracting. I mean, you can go out and acquire a used EV. But given the length of time that we would
Yeah.
likely, retain such a vehicle, I would say, it's not atypical for these to be around for 10+ years, and then you're just starting, you know what you have, you don't really have any idea how the other vehicles were maintained or driven or anything like that, even though there's not a lot to them other than, the tires and brakes and
Yeah.
wipers and things, but just overall from that standpoint, my experience is that if you're gonna have something, if you intend to have something for a long period of time, you're better off financially just to buy new to begin with.
Well, I don't think you're going to get anything better than the contracted government price. Even the manager cars that are given to the managers at a car dealership, they run them until they're about 10,000 miles. You get substantial discounts that way, but it's not gonna beat the government price. So I say we go ahead with it. Any other comments? Okay, roll call, please.
Manager Lowe.
Aye.
Manager Schmaltz.
I,
Manager Baki.
Nay.
Manager Taves.
Aye.
President Anderson.
Aye. Motion carries. Next
so
item.
I'll make the next motion, which moves to authorize the administrator on the advice of council to purchase a district vehicle using funds from the account 3-010-A. That should be district electrical EV vehicle.
Mhm. Is there a second?
I love
I'll
the
second.
generic, in case something changed.
Who seconded?
I will second that.
Thank you, Manager Taves. Okay, roll call.
Manager Lowe.
Aye.
Manager Schmaltz.
Aye.
Manager Baki.
Nay.
Manager Taves.
Aye.
President Anderson.
Aye. Almost made a mistake. Almost made a mistake there.
I know. I'm so used to the
Yeah.
old way that
Exactly.
some of it's still the same.
I heard the S.
Yeah.
All right. Next item, 2025 cost share policy.
And president managers, we have Mr. Reed online again here to discuss this, but so again, just kind of following, practice and, I guess the board, there is a motion, and then you could have a
Discussion.
presentation, yeah. with Mr.
Okay,
Reed.
all right, very good. Is there a motion to approve the attached cost share policy? I will make that inquiry a motion then. I move that the board approve the attached 2025 cost share policy.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Manager Schmaltz. Any further discussion or comments? Only that this is well laid out, and, thanks staff for putting this together for us. Very detailed. I had some questions on that, community one, on the different levels, but, I'm willing to let this one go through and see how it goes. I'm not sure I like that kind of stepped evaluation, but we'll see how it goes. Manager Schmalz?
Yeah, I think we also should note that I think the CAC has had a chance to look at this, and they didn't come up with any objections.
Good, that's fine. That's good to know. Somebody was trying to speak. I can't see who it was. Was it you, Manager Baki? No? Manager Taves? No?
Nope.
Manager Loth? No? Okay, very good. With no discussion, let's move to the roll call.
Manager Lowe,
Aye.
Manager Schmaltz,
Aye.
Manager Baki,
Aye.
Manager Taves,
Aye.
President Anderson.
Aye. Motion carries. Next is report of staff, starting with the administrator.
Eight.
Oh, I'm sorry. Lower St. Croix. I already checked that one off, sorry. Lower St. Croix Watershed Partnership Work Plan Leverage. I think this was something you had asked for, Manager Schmalz. So have you had a chance to look at it, and any comments you want to make?
The only comment I wanted to clarify was that the blue area on that Venn diagram, that's what it's called.
Can we
That
pull
piece-
that up? Can we pull that up? Okay. It's on page 2. That helps.
Well, you can answer my question. So, that $6.2 million, 6.9, whatever, 6.8, it looks like. That is actually the money that was appropriated by the Grant Authority through Bowser to fund the Lower St. Croix.
No.
It's not.
No, that's not my understanding. I think it's 1.8 million or something like that. That is what came from the WBIF money. And there's a chart that shows that. Oh, here it is. It's on page 3 of the document. So it's WBIF grant is 1.970 million. There it is.
Okay.
And then that bottom one, the other funding, as I read the memo here from Emily, correct me, Emily, if I'm wrong, but that is a combination of all of the members' work that they're doing within the Lower St. Croix.
That relate to the Lower St. Croix.
Yes, they're in the Lower St. Croix.
So it would be, for example, we had a project last year that we got a grant on.
Yeah,
So that extra money we spent would go into that part.
that's my understanding. Emily, can you clarify?
Madam President, managers, this number here is not actual reported. It's estimated for the years 2025 and 2026. It comes from the 10-year implementation plan from the Lower St. Croix. But we will be working on reporting for last year, 2024. So there will be real numbers of actual spend for last year, but this one is estimate based on the 10-year plan.
Yeah, by the partners though, right? The 6,503, 220 is what partners would spend
Yes.
within the Lower St. Croix. Okay, good.
Yep.
So the budget for the Lower St. Croix is really that, well, you can see it's broken down into those components. There's some money left over from the 2023 grant, the WBIF match. Where does that come from? The match, is that from the partners or is that part of the partnership money, a budget?
It comes from individual partners and it might be local levy funds, but it also could be federal funds, just non-state funds.
Right, but it's not projects that the Lower St. Croix is doing, it's what the partners are doing at their local level, correct?
It is primarily the projects. So when a partner wants to go out for some of the WBIF grants, like when
Mhm.
Comfort Lake Forest Lake has done that in the past, we'll say,
Yeah.
we want this much grant funding, and we will also provide this much match
Okay.
fund.
So
10%.
these are on approved projects by the Lower St. Croix Partnership. And the match money that comes from the local
Yes.
Mhm.
entity doing the project. Okay, I get it. Okay, so basically that 1.970 or $1,970,071 is what the budget for the Lower St. Croix is.
Right.
That's the money. Yeah.
Okay, I understand.
Okay. And because we've had a discussion about this in the past, the partnership for outreach and education, that's pretty healthy. You know, that covers both positions for the person that's kind of employed or hired by the Washington Conservation Service and the ag outreach person. I think that position has been filled now. So you might want to look at those. I think that was something else yeah, okay. All right, so there's no action to take on that. So is everybody's questions answered? Appears so. Without comment, let's move on then. Report of staff, administrator.
Madam President, managers, just, let you know that we started our, in-person meetings with some of the other buildings, Washington districts, we've got to do some data collection from that side of things, taking a question, one more here.
How's it going?
It's okay, you know, well, I mean, I've been to a lot of these buildings already and I've talked to them, but if you know, you're gonna learn some new things through the line of questioning. We have several more, but I think ultimately it's really gonna just come down to the board through the strategic planning process and just incorporating more, you know, making me raising that to a higher level. It was interesting from the 9 Mile Creek meeting today was how much focus they said the board provided. They said that, the building and the facility around it and all just the site work itself, that alone was enough of a project, to warrant them use of levy dollars to, you know, to build it out and do all the work. I guess thinking of a traditional project, that it's not just, you're just building a building. So I think that was an important perspective
Okay.
that I had gained today.
Well, good, that's good. All right, anything else? If not, Emmons and Olivier Resources, EOR.
President Schmaltz, I'm sorry,
excuse me.
President Anderson.
Yes, man.
I just had a question for Mr. Kinney regarding his report. For the South Bone Lake land acquisition, I noticed the language was that the heir of the property was mentioned. Does that mean the owner is no longer involved in negotiations, or where are we with that?
Yeah, I caught that too.
Madam President, managers, yes, that is correct. The property has passed to an heir. And so that's who we were communicating with presently. That's public knowledge, you know, the person would find out from the online sources of things that Mr. Larson has passed. And so we were working with the heir of the property and who was interested in proceeding presently with the district over a different entity that never really quite, I don't know, we had difficulty assessing how serious it was going to move forward. We're just now going through the process of working with counsel and a real estate attorney to get the appraisal redone because it's exceeded its lifespan and the different steps. So we would speculate that if everything fell in line, maybe late summer, but chances are somewhere toward the end of 2025, if we continue on this path, and if the owner now there's agreeable, which we believe this person is, then that we'll be in possession of the majority of the property as originally intended or desired. So it'll be somewhere. It won't be right now. It won't be the full amount of what we were looking at, but it's very similar. So, but it certainly would encompass the entirety of the wetland complex area.
Okay, does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you for that clarification. I hope we can move this forward.
Yeah. Okay, next EOR, Dr.
Yeah.
Wilkinson. Thank you.
Madam President, managers, all of the updates that I had on my list have already been discussed.
Wonderful, thank you. Next, summary and approval of board direction. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm skipping over some things. Smith Partners.
Nothing to report, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Report of treasurer and approval of bills.
Okay, we had income just over $200,000 this month, of which $187,000 came from the second half of the levy settlement from Chisago County. So that gives us some working capital. Expenses for the month. $217,594.46. And I just want to mention that we're ending the year up, and through Manager Anderson's action, we were insured this year of getting the general fund positive this year, which was a problem in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So thanks to her efforts and catching it at the last minute, we would have had a negative number there again, which would have dinged us with the audit. So thanks to her surveillance, we were able to get that to be a positive number. So we're in good shape there. So with that, then I'd like to just make a motion for the board to approve paying expenses for the past month of $217,594.46.
And the bank transfer.
And bank transfer of $376,600.
Okay. I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Manager Taves. Roll call?
Manager Lowe.
Aye.
Manager Schmaltz.
Aye.
Manager Baki.
Aye.
Manager Taves.
Aye.
President Anderson.
Aye. Report of officers and managers. And Manager Schmaltz?
Nothing this evening.
Okay. Manager Baki?
Yes, I just want to remind managers that at the beginning of 2024, we approved SMART goals that were written, and as managers, we provided feedback on those SMART goals. And we've had quarterly reviews. The first quarterly review was with Manager Anderson on April 4th or April 1st and myself. And then the second was with Manager Taves and myself on July 1st. Manager Schmaltz and I met with Mr. Kinney on September 30th. And then recently Manager Anderson and myself met with Mr. Kinney on January 3rd. You received a copy of these SMART goals with comments, and the comments are color coded. So, and they're written down below each of the SMART goals. The SMART goals have been marked in one of three ways. They were either marked as goal achieved, or goal not achieved but on track, or goal not achieved off track. So I would encourage managers to take a look at that informational sheet, so when we meet next Tuesday on January 28th, you're familiar with that. And the intent of this was to provide some data that we can use as part of the administrative review process. So hopefully that you'll find that useful.
Thank you, Manager Baki, because just this evening, about 2 hours ago, I sent that same chart out to all the managers, reminding them that we have our 28th meeting, and then I asked them actually to go and actually score the sheet, the information we have today, score it by using the Gallagher 4 rating scores, which we explained earlier on in my letter that I sent out for that meeting. So we'd like to have that done ahead of the meeting, and any positive supportive comments or any recommendations for improvement that might be required, so we can have that kind of tied up. Certainly you can change your vote or your scoring after we hear from Mike, but I think if we get more of this, we get done ahead of time, the faster we're gonna be able to get through that 3-hour meeting. So just following up on what you mentioned there, Manager Baki, thank you for bringing it up, and Manager Kinney still owes us a couple items that we're waiting for, and when we get those, again, same thing, we'll proceed. We'll have to review that if we have time before the meeting and try to make an assessment, and then we have plenty of time to discuss with Administrator Kinney at the meeting on Tuesday night. So,
Can you
again, I
remind
wanna
us?
Thank you, Manager Baki, for leading that effort. It was the first time we've had that formal approach, and I think you've really done a great job in providing the leadership and getting partners to work with you in each of the quarters, and so we've got a very good diversified view of how that whole effort has transpired over the year, which we've not always had in the previous years. So that's very good work, and I hope we can continue that process next year also. So thank you for that contribution.
Thank you. And can you remind us when and where the meeting is on next Tuesday?
Yes, I sent a notice out last week, but it'll be here at the office, and I encourage everybody to be at the office if we can. And I've set up the time from 6 to 9. If we need that much time, we'll use it. If not, we can adjourn earlier.
Okay, so
And I'm
not,
hoping we can work through everything at that meeting. So,
so not the library. Okay.
no,
I need
that
to
was
change
the meeting we canceled
Yes.
because there was conflicts with time and everything else. And so I extended this meeting,
Yeah.
and we're
And
trying to get it done here at the
Okay.
meeting where we're face to face, and
Okay,
Mike will be here. We can have an open discussion.
all right, so here at the office.
Right.
All right, thank you very much for that. Manager Tates. Anything
Nothing to
from you?
report. No.
Okay, Manager Lowe?
I do not have anything either.
Okay, I went to the Metro Minnesota Watersheds meeting on the 21st, and I encourage all of you to at least do one of those. They meet quarterly. But all the heads of the agencies that deal with water come together and then give their reports. And I just wanted to pass on, I haven't had a chance to type up all of this, but you can see full page, even on the second side, for the staff, especially Emily. There are some things that I wanted to share with the board. The the MPCA woman, Kate McDonald, talked to the group, gave a shout out for Comfort Lake Forest Lake Watershed District, and talked about the work that we're doing to delist our lakes and how rapidly we've accomplished that. And we're looking, she's going to be talking to staff about the lakes that we want to delist either this year or next year. So that was good. The other things, it dealt with funding that is available in different areas. 21 million water storage under the CREP program. I sent Mike and Emily one of those documents I received from Bowser today. I didn't get the one that we would qualify for, which is the water storage program. There's 21 million to use upland storage areas, and that's an expansion. And then there are $300 million through the Clean Water Council for the One Watershed, One Plan effort. So 300 million, and that will be split up into the money that the different regions get. Ours is part of the metro area, of course. And that's money that we've been turning over to the Lower St. Croix, a substantial amount, almost $1 million last year. And we might want to look at how we want that the convene of the metro might want to look at how those monies, once allocated, can be used. So it's encouraging. There's still money coming from other programs and, I'll get that all typed up. I'll share it with the board as well. But it's primarily info for the staff to follow up on. But do consider in this year attending one of those meetings. I think they're good for each of us to experience. Okay, the last item, of course, is summary and approval of board direction.
Madam Chair, managers, there's a handful of items here. I may not have gotten all the nuances precisely correct. If not, I hope you'll forgive me, but here's my effort. Regarding the CAC update, Manager Anderson referenced a participant suggestion about incorporating historical markers, I believe, of AIS progress over time on the lakes, and that that will be conveyed along to Blue Water Science.
And thanking him and thanking this new member that made the suggestion. It was good. He actually was a visitor. We could get the name from Adam later.
Keith Coley.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
And then Mr. Jelm will correct an upside down slide in the otherwise excellent newsletter. With respect to the 2024 AIS report, Manager Schmaltz asked that staff take steps to publicize a particular table that I think concerned treatment of in Forest Lake. That's the one I'm not sure about. And then also staff will share the YouTube videos so they can be posted on Lake Association websites. With respect to the inspection reports, Manager Schmaltz will consult with staff regarding clarifying the contributions of the city of Forest Lake and the Lake Association before the report is finalized. And then regarding the Blue Water Science reports, staff will split up the reports by lake and provide those to the managers. And I believe that's everything that I have.
Council Holtman, that agreement that you referenced is called the Tri-Party Agreement, if you want to put that in your notes. Tri-Party Agreement?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
All right. Well, there's no further business before us, so a motion to adjourn is in order.
Let's just sit here and we see if we get one.
I will make that motion.
Thank you, Manager Taves. Thank you, thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay.
Manager Lowe,
Aye.
President Schmaltz,
Aye.
Manager Baki.
Aye.
Oh, did I say President Schmaltz? I'm sorry. Manager Taves,
Aye.
President Anderson.
Aye. Good night, all.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
night. Take care.
Good night.
Bye-bye.